wanted people to walk away thinking about themselves and feeling
100%.
changed and feeling like they could do anything.
Like, I just don't want to be okay with where I'm at. Like, I always want to be going for better.
Folks don't know how much this man, take me out of just being a fan. Bro, he's opened so many doors for me personally. I had to hit him back out. I'm like, why do you keep doing this?
Video, newsletter, podcast. This is Creative Minds.
This episode is sponsored by Playlist Push, the music promotion service trusted by over 25,000 artists. Hello, and as always this week it is my absolute privilege to try and connect with you, try and have this space with you. And this week we're going to be looking at 3 artists and seeing what we can learn through a discussion of the importance of courage in our approach to our creative journey and our creative practice.
You seem stimulated by overcoming fear. You described the sense of danger that had united the onlookers in the room. What part does fear play in your work?
You know, anything I do before I start, I have enormous fear, anxiety. I have literally crumbles in my stomach. I'm mostly in the bathroom. Even I have nothing to do in the bathroom, I just sit there. And if I don't have the fear, even public talk, same thing. But if I don't have fear, I will panic that I don't have fear.
I get lost in my own head sometimes, and it can get very limited in there. The stories it sometimes wants to tell are so old, and honestly, sitting here as a 37-year-old, these stories are getting boring now. Sometimes these thoughts can come up in my head, and if I let them hold space there, they have the power to rob me of my time and my energy. I used to try to push them away when they came up, but recently I've been working on being more accepting, and I picked this method up somewhere to try not to push the thoughts away, but instead to allow them to be there if they want, and have the courage to say, it's fine that you're there at the moment, but I'm not going to let it step in and add this negativity to my day, and I'm going to remain present regardless.
I have always loved the joy of carving and the rhythm of movement that grows in the sculpture itself, just as I like dancing or skating. I like the relaxation of sound and movement. When I am carving, or when I am listening to someone else carving, I know what is happening not by what I see, but what I hear. The tools a sculptor uses become his friends, and they become intensely personal to one, the most precious extensions of one's sight and touch.
Why I'm saying this, why I'm telling you about this thing that's going on, is that maybe I think for some people they'll probably relate, and also because what I'm saying here is that sometimes it can take courage, especially in the current cultural, political landscape, to be able to hold on to that semblance of presence in our day, to be able to try and be emotionally embodied in our emotions as opposed to reactive. Being present in life and having presence with our work is a practice, and courage is part of that practice. So today, for my own benefit and yours, I hope too, I want to make a study of courage and the importance of courage in creative practice through 3 great artists and creatives that I think represent this.
And that fear, something is a kind of, I don't know, indication that I am there 100%. The moment I'm in front of audience, I disappear. Immediately it's gone. And then I'm just there with them. But there with them, I have to be with my mind and my body there. I can't just be there and my mind is, I don't know, in Honolulu. I have to be there. And the public, they feel the fear, they feel insecurity, they feel everything. So you really have to be present for them. And then you connect. And then when this connection happens, you maybe sometimes you don't need to do anything. This is the thing, just stand there with them in the space. You can have so much out of this. People always think that we have to do too much. For me, it's all about having, more and more of less and less. Yeah.
At the end of the piece, I also wanted to recommend a great podcast or video piece too, which if you want to continue this inspirational journey of listening around, expanding your limits through moments of courage and using your creative journey to grow in courage, or perhaps become more and more someone who identifies as having courage in the face of things that may cause you fear or cause those protective voices to want to come up and stop you moving forward. I want to give you some more material that you can go on to continue that journey if you want. But first then, let's get into our discussion here, which I really hope you enjoy. And let's get into it. Artist 1, Marina Abramović. Life starts at the end of your comfort zone. The statement, life starts at the end of your comfort zone, is quite an annoying one, I think, because not only does it sound completely trite, not only does it almost sound smug and annoying, and it also challenges us. It can make us bristle a bit because it's asking us to pull off those covers, get out of the bed, that warmth that we like so much. Not only is it those things, but it also seems very true. When I think of the experiences in my adult life that have made me feel more free or more competent or more alive, there have all been times when I've been able to push out of my comfort zone and move into unknown waters to do something that I know I want to do and have maybe wanted to do, but really have also been dreading for those weeks leading up to it, whether that is performing some creative work or, in other aspects of my life, teaching scenarios perhaps where I've been out of my comfort zone, or just loads of different stuff. It's those times when I've been able to push through that. And don't get me wrong, I'm not being smug here. I'm not the greatest example in the world for this. We're going to look at some other examples here. But when I have been able to do it, it's those times when I've found that I felt less limited, more free, and more able to move forward, especially in my creative work with the stuff that I want to do. In a moment, I'm going to sample a longer clip from Marina Abramović's interview on fashion neurosis, which is a great podcast and YouTube project that is relatively new. I started to come across these videos from fashion neurosis probably about a year ago now, if I'm correct. And a source that I'd really suggest you go and check out independently. Drop them, subscribe there. Some really interesting artist interviews there. But before we jump onto the longer Marina Abramović clip here, I wanted to first slip this short moment in that I just found from a fashion neurosis interview, which actually dropped this morning, the morning that I'm recording this, with record producer and musician Richard Russell. And in this piece, you're going to hear him talking about the comfort zone.
And in your memoir, Liberation Through Hearing, you talk about how your lack of experience made you unafraid of failure, and you became the boss of XL at 23. And I wondered how do you deal with self-doubt?
Well, I think now I deal with self-doubt just by acknowledging it.
Yeah.
And I think I got in the habit some time ago of, rather than pretending that things don't make me angsty, I just accept that they make me angsty and I do them anyway. Mm-hmm. And I almost look for that as an indication of something interesting. And if it's making me feel uncomfortable, that means I might be onto something. Yeah. So I'm pretty suspicious of like feeling too comfortable at any given time. And a friend of mine who's a very good artist said to me once, the comfort zone is where you get your head blown off.
I totally agree.
Yeah. So.
Okay, I wanted to touch on an idea around time dilation that seems to sit within this comfort zone discussion. People say that time goes faster the older you get, but I'm a big believer in our ability to stretch time out, to experience time in a more of a longer way by pushing into these experiences and doing these things that scare us and move the poles of our limitations further away. When a week in our life feels quite normal to our nervous system, when we fill it with the same kind of thought patterns, the same regulatory behaviors, the same distractions, maybe the same anxieties, when we fill it with all the same stuff, that week might well bleed into all the other weeks and everything else. But to step out of those states, to forcibly rock the boat a little, to experience new and memorable things, this can lift that normal week or month or day even into a sense of significance, both in the way that we experience and feel that moment, and also in the memory that we leave behind us. I want to jump now into that Marina Abramović clip here, again from the channel Fashion Neurosis, where she talks about her relationship to fear, presence, and new experience.
But to me, it's very important to create the first idea, and then you write the instruction. And you never try before, because if you try before, you will never do it, because it's too difficult. And trying at home doesn't make any sense. It's important to take the concept and do it in the front of the public. Right. Because the public energy is the exactly energy you need to actually do something which is like almost supernatural. And that energy is essential. And then you have to absolutely do it no matter what. If you say yourself, I have to do it, and it only will stop if I lose consciousness or something else happen. But do it to the end. And if you give up, you know, what you decide to do before, then you can't do life either. Yeah. You give up too easily. And mind is very tricky tough stuff. Mind will always try to stop you. They always make this construction, you know, that's ridiculous. I don't need to do this. Why I'm doing it? But that's so tricky. But decision is so important, no matter what mind said, no matter how shitty or difficult it is, go and do it. And the idea of the end, the realization of that succeeding, something that is very difficult, it's incredibly rewarding, because when you do something 100%, it's definitely not enough. But 150, this extra energy that may change, but also connect you with the public. You show vulnerability, you show, you know, the difficulties, and then they go with you. They give you this extra energy. And then really something happened. The kind of feeling of connection and being in the presence.
Okay, I hope you're feeling relaxed in your enjoyment of this episode of Creative Minds. And if you are enjoying it, maybe drop a like if you're watching it on YouTube, or if you're listening to this podcast at some stage. It'd be great if you could leave a review to the podcast wherever you're listening. That's a big help. And in a moment, I want to get onto our next two artists here and a further discussion about limitations and how we can have less of them, and how we can find that through our creative practice, and how that can improve our creative journey and open it up. I've created a new phrase this week for my own thinking, this phrase that's come up in my head as they sometimes do, and it's when a doubt or feeling of lack or limitation or need to compete, maybe feeling like I'm in competition in some way, when these thoughts might come into my head, I tell myself that that's the SLS. SLS is a nice funny term referring to the small limiting self, the SLS. And there's lots of other way more in-depth, therapeutic or psychological models. This is not deep in this way. It's just a funny thing that I'm handing over as something that's come up to me. And when something limiting comes up in my head, something from that bed of not enoughness, of what I might call low vibration thoughts, from competitiveness, from what I was talking about, those old stories, those boring old stories that maybe we can let go of a little bit, at least in our relationship to our creative journey. I say in my head, that's just the SLS talking. And it makes me smile, and I can kind of move on and kind of recognise that. So I thought I'd just hand that over, that little phrase, SLS, small limiting self. And that sense that sometimes maybe when we're moving towards something that's making us feel a bit uncomfortable, but a place where we want to go check out, and when we hear those things come up in our heads telling us, no, all that stuff, we can maybe think, is that the SLS speaking? Is that the small limiting self?
Do you still write a diary every day? Because you mentioned that in your memoir.
I have a little book with me always. Mm-hmm. I don't keep it quite as a diary, like a daily thing, but I will process fear in there. Mm-hmm. And when you put it on paper, you see it for what it is.
Yeah.
It's not real. Exactly.
It feels real, doesn't it?
Feels very real. But it's not to be listened to. It's to be ignored. It's to be accepted. It's to be faced. It's your demon, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's to be faced, acknowledged, respected in a way. But then you are meant to do the exact opposite of what it's telling you to do. Or more often what it's telling you not to do. Mm-hmm. It's saying to you, don't do this thing because you might fail, you might trip up, you might not be able to do it. And the actual you is fine with all those things. It doesn't matter.
Right, more on opening up those limitations in a moment. And I want to look at a few clips next from Donald Glover. Then we're also going to talk about our relationship with vulnerability, limitations, and how it might affect our desire to collaborate too. But first, before that, I wanted to point you to the sponsor for this week's episode and long-term partner who have supported Creative Minds and the work I do here through its ups and downs, this year especially, and that's Playlist Push. As I say, Playlist Push have supported Creative Minds through the ups and downs and have now taken on the offer that I gave them with this advert spot you're hearing right now to be the first sponsor on the CM podcast, which is a landmark moment in helping me build what I want to build here in Creative Minds. I've got big plans. I've got big plans for what's going on here, and I'm loving the value that I've been able to give some people. And last week I had 2 emails specifically referring to the Creative Minds podcast. 2 people emailed me and they said how the work there has helped them understand and love and push forward with their own creative practice, re-embrace their creative journey as part of their life that's, bringing more satisfaction and helping them and all that good stuff. And I'm hugely proud of that. And I wanted to say that Playlist Push being this sponsor of the channel that has been a collaborating with me in a way through that support through last year, and then now saying we're going to get on board and support the podcast as well, which I said is having real effect and reaching people. And yeah, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So shouts to them for doing it. If you haven't come across what they do there before, Playlist Push helps artists get their music in front of the right curators on over 4,000 verified playlists across Spotify. They've been doing this work for over 7 years, so they really know how to connect your music to listeners who are actually likely to resonate with it. And it not just be that, one-time click or whatever. What they're doing through their long work building relationships with the people who make the playlists and building relationships with artists is they're trying to connect you to people who might actually listen to your work and love it and connect with it in a way that's deeper than just that one-time metric. If you're new to this kind of thing or need help building a campaign, their team is super hands-on and they really want to help you get the most out of their service, out of what they've created, out of what they offer. So if you're an artist looking to get your music into the right kinds of ears that might connect with it, do go check out Playlist Push using the link below. And if you follow that link below, if you're listening to this on the YouTube, then you're going to want to use the promo code Creative Minds 2025 to get 15% off your first campaign. And if you're listening to this ad on the podcast, then you're going to want to be using the promo code Creative Minds Pod instead. So for YouTube listeners, that's Creative Minds 2025 for 15% off your first campaign. And for podcast listeners, you're going to want to follow that link and use Creative Minds Pod. Understand that if you do go and do that, and if you do go and check that out, you're supporting the work that I do here, and you're involved with a company that, as I say, has had this long relationship with Creative Minds now and has driven their resources into helping me support this community, and now has said we're happy to give that. They've been the first ones to say let's come and give the podcast a go. So I've got respect for them. I've got respect for them for doing that. And yeah, okay, let's go on. Peace. Artist 2, Donald Glover. They built the box for them,
Actor, comedian, writer, and rapper. My next guest does it all. Please welcome Childish Gambino. So I want to start there because whenever you part way with a project, there's always misunderstandings.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about why you left and why you're not there?
No, I just wanted to do something else. That was it. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's really much more to it. I wish I could say like something other than that, but I just want to do other stuff.
Yeah, and I guess
a lot of things.
What do you put in the occupation box when you file income tax?
Oh, I leave that. I usually just put like NA.
With Donald Glover, I just wanted to bring forward two things really clearly here. And the first one is that phrase, "We contain multitudes." I speak so much on this channel about multidisciplinary creative practice and how important it is to me, and how natural it feels to me in terms of how I express myself. It's not just bullshit. I'm not just saying that. I'm sitting currently in my flat, and I spoke about, I had some times last year where I was going through a period. I was going through a real period, and I did last year. I haven't painted recently a lot, but last year when I was going through that stuff, I started to have just this feeling that I wanted to do some drawing and some painting. And I'm now sitting in my flat, in this room in my flat, and I'm kind of surrounded. I can see just from sitting here, I can see 4 different things that I painted in that period last year. And if I look at those paintings, I can see the different places that they symbolize from me going through that experience. And that's not because I'm special. That's what it's like being a human from the people that I speak to and from the conversations that I have in that way. We all have that experience. And you know, I've also spoken about, for me, my writing, the stuff that I do in music and the painting and the video practice, they're all one thing. They all feed into each other. So yeah, I just wanted to say that. But what I'm getting at here is that, yeah, I speak so much on this channel about multidisciplinary creative practice. And Donald Glover is a good example of someone who has really pushed that in his own career, and pushed it in the public limelight in this mass culture. He's not only practiced that in his space, but he's pushed out into those different spaces in culture, which have come with their own blowback. And this first clip that I want to introduce here is just him kind of discussing that process of pushing into these different paths and what it brings up for him.
I usually try to, yeah.
Now we were kind of discussing social media. Your Instagrams get a lot of people's attention, especially when you shot photos of the hotel paper.
Yeah, I did that. I didn't think that was gonna be a big deal at all. Like, I just was feeling some type of way, and I wrote it down.
Yeah. I mean, there were things like I hate caring what people think. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I care about what people think. Like, people are always talking about, you know, you shouldn't care about what people, but you should. Like, you really should. Like, if I sneeze in your face, like, it'd be like, I shouldn't be like, it's not me, right? Like, you should really care about, it's always important to care what other people think or how people, because, like, that's what connects us. I mean, like, I want to do the best thing I can, but sometimes, like, it stops, like, you know, I'm insecure. I feel weird about a bunch of stuff. Like, I'm awkward about stuff. But I just, you know, I wish I didn't feel that way so much that it stopped me from doing what I really love doing. Because everybody's afraid.
Now, this is interesting. One of those things that was on Instagram was, I'm scared I'll be Tyrese.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
It was funny, because, like, I had people come up to me and be like, are you scared, like, you'll wake up and one day you'll just be like a monster movie? But what I meant was, like, I'm surprised he hasn't, like, said anything yet to me yet. I really feel like one day I'll wake up and just, like, a transformer will just come through my window and he'll just beat me up. Because, like, but what I meant was, like, I just don't want to be okay with where I'm at. Like, I never want to settle. I never want to be, like, just happy with where I'm at. Like, I always want to be going for better. So, like, that's all I meant. Yeah. I just want to always get better at stuff. That's all I meant.
The second point that I wanted to introduce, which is shown in these clips here and in one I'm about to play too, is just that really important thing for creatives on our journey to remember, which is to say that this action that Donald Glover's made, it's not easy for him to do. And the kind of freedom that he's made for himself requires that constant inclination, that constant leaning towards courage in a loving way, not in an aggressive way necessarily, in a loving way. This is about us lifting up our own shoulders a bit. You know, think about a busy club, right? You're lifting your shoulders a bit, and you're making yourself a bit of space, that bit of space that you deserve to have. And there's no shoving. We're not required to shove anyone around to do this. There's space for everyone. But in fact, lifting your shoulders and creating your own space and expressing yourself within it might actually cause some other people to feel empowered to do so too. So it's the opposite of shutting other people down. But doing that act, creating your own space, it doesn't necessarily come easily to people. even if it might seem so, even if it might seem that it does. Often we see artists in performance moments or in signed off magazine articles, airbrushed articles, and we feel, it seems that all this stuff comes easily to them. But the reality beneath that human experience is that often all of it stems from waking up that morning or one morning and willing themselves, just as we might have to go over the top of the trench that day, to push ourselves towards that uncomfortable thing that day. It can be that simple, really. That inclination towards courage, finding that in as many moments as we can, and allowing that, building some momentum in order to push forward with that.
Well, I don't do a lot of research, but I remember we talked about this the first time I talked about it, or somebody told me about it, that you've got, this musical thing. Now, when you hear a comic's doing a musical thing, you're like, well, is it a funny thing? I mean, the name's funny.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what is it? And then I watched about 5 minutes of this, of you on stage with your band, and I realized, like, holy fuck, he's serious. He's seriously doing a music thing.
I went to the Montreal Comedy Festival, and then, like, for the Funny or Die party, they were like, hey, let's have Childish Gambino. And there is nothing. Like, first of all, I don't know what gave me the fucking balls to do that. I was like, I'm surrounded by comedians doing actual rap.
You mean to go up and sing?
Well, yeah,
rap?
Well, rap and sing. Yeah, I do sing too, but like, and not have it be a bit. Like, comedians are like Chelsea Peretti, like, fucking ripped into me, man.
She did?
She likes it, but
yeah.
she's like,
right. Well,
there's
there's not a great history of comics performing music. For those of you who have the Jamie Foxx record, perhaps the Eddie Murphy record,
they're all classics.
Well, I think that what I see in you is you're pretty, shiny and new, and you have seemingly unbounding talent. And somehow or another, you've mustered up the courage to use it in a lot of different ways.
Well, it took me like 8 years to actually be like, okay, I'm actually doing this, because I knew people were going to
singing or rapping.
Yeah, that shit. Like, because I've been doing music since way before comedy.
That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah.
When I watched it, I was like, this was the dream.
But I was like, comedy, you can always be like, I was fucking around.
Oh, yeah, with comedy. Like, comedy really, if you think about it, is almost a default. Like, if you're a funny guy, you're like, that's easy. Or not easy as a job, but it doesn't, once you figure out comedy, it doesn't take a lot of work, and you know how to express yourself and be vulnerable, but still be funny. Yeah. But music, you're all fucking out there.
You're out there. Like, that's the thing. Like, I don't, because you really do have.
All right, I wanted to get onto the last artist that we're going to look at today, and a few clips here, and yeah, let's get into it. Artist 3, Pharrell. The two-way street of courage and nourishment in collaboration.
2 months, this like February this shit got announced. I think like early week February, I think. Mid-March, mid-April, just out of nowhere. What up? Nothing, kicking it, dude at the house, about to go grab breakfast. Yo, when the next time you in Europe, like in Paris? I'm like, I don't know. I think like maybe June for this one thing I might have to do. I'm not sure. I'm definitely gonna come see your first show, like for sure. It's like, okay, because I'm gonna need you here so we could finish your collection. I'm like, huh? Like, yeah, for your Louis Vuitton collection. I'm like, nigga, wait, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, I need a collection for you for Louis Vuitton. I'm like, what? Like, it moves the phone, and it's like the board with my face on and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, you're serious? He's like, yeah, like, so just let me know so we can figure out the date so we can start working on it. And I'm like, I looked so confused because I'm like, bro, folks don't know how much this man, take me out of just being a fan of his music and him as a person. Bro, he's opened so many doors for me personally, like on some friend shit, like personally. And that one was like, I had to hit him back after. I'm like, why do you keep doing this?
There's this strange and somewhat enticing narrative that runs through culture and a lot of online media, you know, social media maybe, that kind of tells people that courage is exemplified in individualism and some sort of pushing of others away and solo struggle. Forge forwards yourself, it might tell you. Be entirely individual. Make yourself an island. Do your own thing. You know, push everyone else away. Doesn't matter what they tell you. You need to push forward. All this stuff. But the truth, at least in my experience, is it's actually way easier to do this. It doesn't actually take any vulnerability to step into those individualistic, fantastical ways of thinking that the internet may offer you. And it's actually investing in collaborative relationships and sharing work with others in a longer term committed way, or, you know, in physical spaces, whatever. Working with others or in parallel to others calls us to face up to real emotional vulnerability, perhaps, even if it's just sharing something. It calls us to recognize that we are not these boundaried islands. People aren't that, and that we are actually, as humans in a society and in families or whatever social models, we're actually very porous. And that in order to really sit within our creative journey, and the artists and creatives that I look at on this channel teach this over and over in their stories, that it's not about closing ourselves off and pretending that we're already these made objects. You know, we're already complete. All we got to do now is execute on this list of tasks, and then we will achieve whatever goal. It's what they teach us is that the process is one of being made and unmade as life happens to us, you know, and we are kind of dipped within it, and you know, it's through responding to that in our work that the creative work happens, not by closing ourselves off and boundaring ourselves off for everything and pretending that we are already entirely made, as I say. And yeah, I just wanted to look at this idea of collaboration as a really important signifier of courage in the creative journey. This ability to step out and to you know, interact with others around our creative work takes courage. It's not something that's always come naturally to me, and it's a really important way to maybe think about courage in the creative journey.
When I met him, I was like, oh, okay. He you know, he said he wants to do something, and for me, if it never came to fruition, the fact that he said that, like, just meant so much. And so when we ended up doing something, I was like, oh, this is like really real. Having BBC and having Nigo as a partner, and then bumping into Mark, and then Mark, you know, welcoming me in a moment where it's like, well, I didn't make those sunglasses. I just like, out of all the ones that Nigo made, that's the pair that I chose. So I'm rocking those, and he was like, well, you want to make sunglasses? I was like, yeah. But I was like, again, I said this earlier, but when I asked could I bring Nigo, and he said yes, I was like, who does that? Like, that's any other like vulture or savage in this industry, because there's a lot of them.
Yeah,
would have been like, right? Oh, okay, cool, great. Where's Nigo? You know, but he didn't do that, and I never forgot that part. That part right there just meant so much to me.
Don't be a gatekeeper is something that I think these clips that we're looking at from Pharrell teach us. gatekeeping in any form is probably someone listening to their insecurities too much. It's that SLS that I spoke of earlier, that small limiting self telling you that you need to shut gates around you, right? Take the keys and put them in your pocket, because that's, you know, if you got that key, why wouldn't you shut the gate and put it in your pocket? But yeah, we're trying to catch ourselves in those moments. We're trying to be that thing that Pharrell is teaching us here, of opening gates and being vulnerable in that way, being secure enough, teaching ourselves to be secure enough in order to be vulnerable in that way, trying as much as we can consciously sometimes to bring others forward, trying to teach ourselves to be someone who does that, having the courage to open up our work and working practices to others, reach out and find opportunities to bring others in, or even just to work around others, you know, to practice alongside others. And by pushing through that insecurity that's going to maybe pipe up, that small limiting self that may be, you know, coming up in your head when you're trying to do that, by pushing through that, we're eventually teaching ourselves, eventually becoming more and more free in our practice, and more porous in the ways that are going to actually lead to more satisfaction from our creative journey.
Thank you so much, man. This is exactly what we wanted out of it. We wanted people to walk away thinking about themselves and feeling
100%.
changed and feeling like they could do anything. And like I said, now is a better word than ever.
Now's a better word
right
than
now,
ever.
go. What's stopping you? They're going to try to put you in a box. It's what they do. Yeah. And by the way, at some point in your life, when you transition to, you know, the afterlife, they will put you in a box.
Not
right?
me, mate. They'll sprinkle me over the ocean, but I know what you mean.
Well, yeah, okay, there you go. But either way, sprinkle your pieces over the Lego ocean when you go.
Yeah.
But until then, man, live life to the fullest.
No boxes.
Nah, man.
Okay, that's probably enough for now, but just before I go, as I promised, I wanted to pass you off. If you're interested in continuing this journey of kind of inspirational stuff, interesting stuff around pushing the comfort zone, opening up limitations, I wanted to point you to the interview with John Baptiste that I sampled a while back and found a while back. It's from the podcaster, creator Tim Ferriss, and his conversation with John Baptiste. And I'm going to link that interview right at the top of the newsletter companion piece for this week's episode, which is linked wherever you're listening to this. And yeah, go and check it out. Go and check that out. And I remember being really struck by a lot of stuff around John Baptiste's journey with exploring, pushing that comfort zone, and look at, you know, if we look at the freedom that he seems to have now and what he's done with his creative practice, you know, enough said there, really. Go and check that out if you want to continue this journey. And yeah, with all that said, thanks as always to the paid supporters. Every piece of the resources that are handed over there, I'll go directly into me making more time and trying to have less limitations with how I think about creative minds and where it could go. And yeah, peace. Speak soon, and good luck in your own work. And yeah, speak soon.